Hello and welcome back to the Testpilot podcast. In today's episode, we have Cam Zink with us. He probably needs no introduction, but there are different sides to Cam Zink. He's not only a professional mountain biker, living legend who pushes the limit, but also an eager advocate to support the upcoming next generation. He's an entrepreneur of multiple brands and a loving father and family man. He shares insights on how to become a better mountain biker, a better yourself, and how to push limits in every aspect of your life. From post office to Rampage. Enjoy the listen. Welcome, Cam Zink. I'm prepared like now a little intro, but I would say you are a person that doesn't really need an intro.
I appreciate that. That's cool to hear.
Yeah, you're a busy man. Like, it's not only that you're recognized as a writer, but you founded multiple companies and you're still running them. You just started Zink Bikes. You're a father of two, husband. Like, I think your day has more than 24 hours, does it?
I mean, I've been very fortunate to have an amazing wife, and I guess she's fortunate that she doesn't that she can be a stay-at-home mom. But for that we have it's never a dull moment. But I have amazing help, and I still get to go surf with my kids and whatnot because that's like one of the sports that my son's into surfing and skating, so I get to go surf and skate with him, and that seems like just a fun, day off, but it's also like that would be also taking him to the soccer field type of thing. So it's yeah, we have a good balance, and but yes, there is never and I have good help with like my brother and Inga and some other people like Howie helps me with census and Inga helps me with Zinc bikes, and we're developing like a bigger team now. And Cody Wilkins pretty much runs the show at Census Rad Trails, and I just like get to advise and come in when I have time. But around this time of year, but right before coming up before Rampage is the only event I really care about anymore. It's it's full on like I'm just focused on riding and try to push everything else off to the side until after October.
So you started your first company in 2009. I think that's 16-ish years ago. And
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah. So yeah, the first like samples, I guess, in '09, and then like launch census in 2010.
so is this like, not every writer out there is also a businessman like you are. So is this something you realize the moment you turn pro that there is a time you might not be writing all the time, so you're building already into the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to have that not in your mind at least a little bit, especially when you start to have some injuries and you have a bunch of downtime. I mean, especially knee surgeries, they take forever to heal, and it's not painful. You feel so you need to occupy your mind to keep yourself from trying to get back on the bike too early. But my dad was a bit of an entrepreneur. He had a t-shirt screen printing business, and I just always, looked up to that. I always thought that is, owning your own business was the coolest thing ever. And I guess cut from the same cloth of not really being that hireable. Like I don't want to, I don't think, and then on that note of like riding a bike for a living and not going to school and everything, you just kind of, you feel like you're lacking business experience. Like I just want to be my own boss and set my own schedule, and I'd rather have a smaller scale business than work for a giant corporate empire and have too much structure. And the things that excite me about riding a bike for a living is the lack of structure and the freedom. If it's just rain, then we get to go ride, and if your friends are riding and they're having a good session, then you can put everything else off and go focus on that because that's your job. And I really appreciate that with being able to make your own schedule with business, but then you have to be conscious of other people's schedules that that are working for you or, helping you along. But yes, it was a bit innate, in my upbringing of wanting to be, own my own business, but then it really started becoming prevalent when after some knee surgeries, and like really want to start this brand, and it turned into a really great creative outlet. And because I'm not the most artistic person, but everyone has a little bit of that in them, and creating logos and creating a brand and designing things is my favorite type of art, or something that I really enjoy. And it's been cool. It essentially put me through my own form of business school, and that led into giving me enough clout and experience to where I honestly asked YT to let me run the US operation before they launched it, without just sounding like some random writer. They knew that I had at least enough business experience. Um, but then even as a writer, you get a lot of business experience along the way. I always tell the younger kids, just pay attention. Like
Yeah.
you have a lot of uh, you're privileged to meeting CMOs and CEOs and product design and R&D, and you just think that you're just a writer that doesn't know anything. And even if they do treat you like that, you still are privileged to you're getting a seat at the table here and there. And just so listen and pay attention and pick up whatever you can and build those relationships, because there's as long as you're asking questions and you're paying attention, you can learn exponential amounts of business experience, even just by riding a bike for a living.
And also, like the bike industry, every new product, if I mean, you potentially experience that with your company's sensors when going to Asia and you need to figure out like molds and manufacturing everything. It's not easy, and it's always a learning curve, and you always start from the bottom. So there is no like apprentice way or internship that can teach you that. It's like a
Hmm.
very specific skill set. And as you said, I think if you're a pro rider, you already have that drive within you, so you can actually push that agenda, right?
Yeah, I think the critical thinking and problem solving and grit. I mean grit is just the most important in just overcoming adversity. And we got a problem, not, oh no, we're done. It's
Yeah.
okay, let's figure this out so I can land this trick. Let's figure this out so I can win this contest, or win the race, or let's figure out so I can get this product out. And I was really fortunate that like grip seemed like it just worked its way in a few different reasons, just serendipitously, to where like they were the only things on my bike that I wasn't sponsored for, and I kept buying them because I was
Mhm.
trying to find a better one. I was honestly
Yeah.
looking for a better grip. So that's a cool story. It's authentic. Um, they're made right in Southern California, so I actually didn't have to
Ah,
travel to Asia for, years and years, until we started. Like our pedals are made in Taiwan, and some other things, and tailgate pads and things like that. But the grips have always been made in America and Southern California, so that was a perfect lower cost. Like grip molds even then were over 10 grand, so it's not like nothing barrier of entry, but it's far less than starting a tire or building a frame or anything like that. So barrier entry wasn't too big. The minimums weren't too high. It's low cost per unit, and then I could give them to all my friends, just shuffle them out, because they're you know, you get like a homie hookup, and then they would be willing to ride your brand more than someone else that's not paying them. A lot of things just kind of lined up with it. But yeah, it's great. You just figure it out along the way. And then when I was done, through my 5 years of not having, of knee surgeries and not being able to ride in the winter, and then my brother kind of was able to run the day to day and ship packages and stuff, because I was literally just shipping packages, went on my downtime and in between events and everything. And but it's cool. It's fun to look back on that.
and you have the opportunity. I mean, you said like you tried all out the offerings out of the market, the different grips, and try to find something you like. And when you doing your own grip, you can do exactly what you like. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
for
building.
for sure. Yeah,
You,
and you have to. I mean, think I in hindsight I got fairly lucky on the first grip, because it is perfect and it's still the only one that I still run. But you don't get a second shot on a mold. If you make a mistake or want to make an adjustment,
Mhm.
it's pretty much the same cost to adjust that and make an alteration than it would be to create a whole new mold. So pretty much like make a guess. There's no 3D printers then. There's no way to like feel it before you like drop in on a $10,000 mold. And but it's still the my favorite grip. It's perfect. It's the only one I run unless I'm like testing the new models. And but it's pretty funny. It's still the I don't know if it's the flange or obviously more people want lock-ons than slip-on grips, but it's our least selling grip and it's the only one I still run. My favorite one. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, and you could just keep you're keeping it going. Like Inga said, you had like 7 prototypes. I mean,
Uh, f-
you're
for
now building
bikes
bikes.
or
Yeah.
yeah, dude, yeah, I just same idea. So that's what's really cool. And when you realize that you have an authentic story, and this isn't trying to create a marketing scheme, it's like I literally want a bike because all these chain stays are too long. Everyone's putting their pivots higher, and they're you know, oh, the shock manufacturers want them to make it more linear so that they can control this better. And you're like, that's the antithesis of what I want. I want, so I have an authentic need for it. I'm just pro rider over here looking for something different that doesn't exist. I'm like, the perfect story, right? And it's not fabricating anything. And I just decided to start playing around on the linkage programs and started we have a good vendor and trade agent and some relationships in Taiwan, and they've been super good with helping me engineer some, playing around. I was playing around with really high bottom brackets. I was playing, because they might bunny hop better, they might feel better, might run more sag, less. I was experimenting with a lot of different things, and then after 5 years or so, and or 6 prototypes, and over the course of over 4 years, it's like this is the perfect bike, right? Um, and first and foremost for myself, but hopefully everyone else loves it too. And so far, it's been even better than I anticipated because I've I've heard a few of the customers say like the confidence that this gives me is incredible, and like and I'm like, didn't even have to say it because one essentially advisors, so Pablo Tafoya, he started Corsair Bikes, or he was the head engineer there, and I rode for them in 2010. He's a dear friend. He's the one that gave me my Cadillac after I won the FMB world title. He gave me a 59 Coupe de Ville. Dear friend, but I remember when we were planning the brand building for Zink bikes, he's like, you're not selling bikes, you're selling confidence. And this has been something that's been in my mind of trying to find a way to convey that to the customers. Hadn't even created a marketing platform for this. Like hadn't even created like any sort of activation for this inspires confidence. And lo and behold, that's what the customers are telling me. So it's incredible. Yeah, super stoked to have an idea, go out on a limb. I've never designed a bike before, figure it out, and then have people like circle back to me the thing that I'm trying to provide, is incredible.
Do you think like there had been also a how you say that? Had there been the lack of products like your bike? I mean, there is a movement, and you see like now in the pandemic, everybody hopped on bikes. Like they try
Yeah,
to, uh, they're building bikes now for that, which is not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're building mainstream bikes,
yeah,
and they're if you go to the local jump spots and like to the super nerds, those who dig, they take a shovel, they plan trails, those that live and breathe bikes, they have maybe a different need in regards of how a bike behaves, functions, feels. And I saw like on one of our local bigger jump spots, they even running back in the days SX trails now, like putting a
yeah.
27 up front, 26 in the rear, and they having a blast on it because it's all 29. It's all like fast, easy riding bikes and maybe lacking pop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of the life and death of the industry with you need a new advancement, you need a technological advancement, and like you have a dropper post. Fantastic, one of the greatest inventions
Yeah.
ever. Even electric shifting and Eagle and single ring and all these, they're great, but then they try to make the next new SX trail. Like I remember the first SX trail because Kyle Straight rode for Specialized when they came out with that, and it was a fantastic bike. And then the next model they changed something, it wasn't as good. And then the next model it wasn't as good.
Mhm.
Same thing with even the YT2 as like the first gen, I think it was the MK4, the first carbon one that they made was still, I think, besides my downhill bike proto, my favorite downhill bike I've ever ridden. Gwyn won a ton of World Cups on it, and then it just started getting not as fun and not as good of a bike for what we do. Maybe it's a better race bike, I don't know, but it's not better for the consumer. And same thing with Specialized and certain models of the demo, and it's they think they need to keep advancing it when something was perfect. Like something was awesome. Like don't need to mess with it. Maybe, so that's where I'm trying to bring in a lot more artwork to where you don't have to antiquate the previous model because you have the newest, greatest advancement. You need to buy the new one. It's like, let's put some new art on it. Let's try to get the new graphic. I want the new graphic. And maybe we found something that we're going to use, maybe a better bearing here or something. Or maybe there's like a minute, but we're not trying to redesign the whole thing because it's like, honestly, it's perfect. It's exactly what I want. So the industry sometimes eats itself to death. Sometimes it's just the striving for the next greatest advancement, but it's also what separates it from BMX as well. Like BMX isn't selling, the industry isn't nearly as healthy in that, because there's a lot of people with money in mountain biking, and they do want a mechanical advantage, and sometimes it's there, but a lot of times with the bikes, it's kind of goes backwards, and I think that that's what we've
Mhm.
experienced. Everything is, and you mentioned the the better riders. It's not necessarily even the better riders. I think that my the Vacay, the Zink, the first Zink model is easier to ride for people, like for a beginner, because you're not. I mean, I guess on a more higher pivot stuff, you can just kind of be a passenger, but if you're doing any sort of jumps or snapping any sort of turns, it's more difficult with a higher pivot or a wheelbase that grows. And so I that's my next goal here, is that is not this is not just a free ride bike, because it's okay that most people think that. It's obvious that I'm mainly a free rider, but I think the next goal is to show that this is not just a freeride bike. It is supposed to be the most fun bike for all skill levels, and fully capable for a pro. But like even for my daughter who doesn't ride very much, it's perfect for her.
I experienced it many times that when I adapted slowly to 27.5, 29, at some point I was so used to 29 that I thought this is the status quo. This is how a bike should feel. And then when I went back, like on one of these bikes you still have in the basement and you just pull out on a 2 times a year, going on a jump spot or anything, and it suddenly feels weird because you're not used to it anymore. But you realize, wait a minute, it's tinier wheels, 26, 20, 27, anything, and it's still more fun.
Yeah,
So I personally think that sometimes if you over-engineer a bike in a way that it's too easy to ride, it's taking away the fun. It's just like a car with launch control. So you can
yep,
go, you push a button, go 0 to 60 in whatever, but it's not manual shift. It's not the same.
yeah. You don't want a Tesla, right? You want a 911 with a manual gearbox. You want it. You know that then it being a full rear engine isn't going to be technically as fast, or the physics of a mid-engine are technically better, but you like the feel of the swing of the rear end and the being a rear engine and a manual gearbox, right? And this, I completely agree. And I think that the brakes and the tires and these little things that, like, if you put those on an old bike, you're kind of set.
Yeah.
Like, because there's a
Yeah.
few things that have gotten exponentially better, but the old bikes are amazing. Like and I
Yeah.
think we tend to, it's kind of warped people's minds, because I remember, like, people are saying, "Oh, dude, can you imagine doing that on 26s?" And it's like people did way gnarlier than
I-
that on
yeah.
26. Like, if go watch a Sam Hill run, or go watch Rampage, like 2020, like 12, even when
Yeah.
everyone was still on 26s and the things that were happening. Like you can. I remember even hearing Laurie Greenland was testing 26s and said that he was faster on a certain track. you never know. Like and if that's just all anecdotal, but like it's it's cool that it's going more like a surfboard. Like, oh, I pulled this old one out. This thing is so good, and it had
Mhm.
like a perfect shape to it, or even old snowboards do the same thing. Everything's
Yeah.
gonna be full rocker now. Oh no, we're going back to the old school that was we thought was antiquated, but now that's the way. And when we were talking about that, it made me think of Greg Hunt, who's that F1. It's Greg Hunt, right? That was in the he was a former F1 driver and in Nicky Lauda's era, and I may have gotten his name wrong, but is the English um, protagonist in the film with Nicky Lauda,
F1.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and he was saying that his favorite car he's ever driven was like almost a van. It wasn't a race car by any means, but it was more fun because it was so easy to get to its limit that it wasn't death
Mhm.
defying, you know? So
Yeah.
and Kurt Voorhees said this when they started doing 29 wheels and downhill. He's like, people are just gonna go so fast until it just gets too dangerous and they start dying. Like sure, a 29er might be faster down a World Cup track, but it's not as fun, and and you're also like getting to speeds to where it's just obscene and much more dangerous. Where you can get the same feeling like going a little bit slower, and it's
Mhm.
just a different style of riding, right?
It's the same, absolutely. I've worked for MTB News many years, and one of the last downhill bikes I reviewed was the first Tours 29. And I have a downhill, like just German serious background, but I realized with this bike, wait a second, this is maybe too gnarly, and I need to go maybe to a limit or to a speed that actually makes for much higher consequences.
Yeah.
And so, do I want to be in that speed window to enjoy the bike? Because it's only enjoyable for me if I'm riding it that fast. So if I go slower or the bike actually makes it harder for me, and this is like a really hard point to debate with many people, if you restricting yourself in regards of travel, geometry, or anything, but you're still having a blast on it, is this wrong? Or
Yeah,
because
yeah, exactly.
not everyone is a racer. It's not like the time is the clock is ticking on every trail, right? It's just we are out there to have some fun.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why I'm in this genre of the sport, right? Because I'm trying to push myself constantly and try to find something that makes me feel full and like I'm progressing, and it doesn't have to be against the clock. And competing against the clock continuously is will drain you unless you are training 100%. And but even that at an older age, there's no way you're going to be able to compete with your younger self, let alone the next generation of your younger self. And it's always about competing with yourself and progressing yourself and getting the feeling, even relearning. Like I was trying to relearn some tricks yesterday that I did 15 years ago, but like that's enough to like you need a progression. You need to have like a good sesh to where it was worthwhile, or you hit that one corner a little bit better than you did before.
Mhm.
It's not all contingent upon a time or a race win, of course, but even just necessarily the milliseconds that you're taking off. I mean, I completely agree with that.
So how is it like now with you having a product? Maybe circle back to that one that really fills the gap on that one. Is that right? I mean, I can rarely think of any other company providing specialized status. Maybe this is
Yeah.
like one. It's budget friendly for kids who may have not as much money, and you're also quite reasonably priced. But I can't think of any other brand
I
offering a bike just to ride for fun.
Yeah, and I think the status would be probably the closest bike to ours, but it still blows me away how long the chain stays are and how high the BB is, and it's kind of yeah, I think that even the last year's status or maybe 2 years ago was honestly a little bit better. So they're turning it more into, I guess, a bit of a park bike, like a
Hmm.
little bit. I think they upped the travel on it, but the chain stays still long and the BB still high. So you can have, I don't, yeah, I do, regardless, I think that would probably be the closest thing to the vacay. And and I see these other companies like Propane and a few others that are marketing their current bike, whatever it may be, whatever it was intended for, whatever whomever designed it, as a free ride bike now. So I guess that gives me some good good motivation that there are many, if they have a lot of people in that company that are really good at their job at marketing, and they're trying to establish that there is a hole in the market of free ride, but they're just going to brand whatever bike they had as a free ride bike now. It gives me high hopes that there's enough people out there that do want a free ride bike, but at the same time I want to show people this is a just a great mountain bike, like free trail, free ride, free mount, like whatever.
Do you think that like the term free ride is making a comeback?
I do.
With-
I mean, and I think it kind of crept up on me. People like Braga and
Yeah.
a lot of the younger kids that they'll reference a song from New World Disorder that some of before they were even born. They're like, "Oh, this was the sickest." Like, so when I was a kid, I'd look back at old snowboard films and stuff like that because there was no old freeride films when I grew up, right? That I could like look back on anything before I was born, but snowboarding and stuff, I'm like, "Oh, this was the sickest," and you feel cool that you discovered that band or you knew that
Mhm.
video back then, or you got, and I see the kids. It's come the time when the kids are stoked that they found Neural Disorder 5 and that they're like referencing this song. And I think it's awesome. I think that the free ride is for sure making a comeback thanks to people like Braga and keeping it core, and the In the Hills gang, and a lot of even Talus and all these. They're the next generation is awesome, and it's an honor that they like respect the heritage and kind of what we've worked so hard for.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and I don't no, don't get us wrong here. We're not picking on racers. I mean, it's absolutely stunning what they do, and just like at the current footage, if you look at sleeper stuff and all the video guys that upping the game right now, it's just insane. What those guys pulling off, they're even having fun on it. And what was the five dev guy called from? He
Asa.
did just pull the Acer, yeah. He just pulled a
Yeah.
backflip.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
like they're
Even
having fun.
yeah, and Teo did too. Yeah, Teo from South Africa. He did one on that jump as well. But that's I'm a fan of racing no matter what. Like I even if I'm not trying to go race, that's how I grew up. That's what I love. Like watching it is like my favorite sports to watch are World Cup downhill and Supercross and motocross, and I race a little bit of moto, but it's more just like that. It's incredibly enjoyable to watch, but to dedicate, your life to racing it's tough. It's extremely hard. It's brutal, and you could be just a second off and never sniff the top 10, or like
Yeah.
it's pretty gnarly. But yeah, Jackson and Asa are my two favorite racers right now, and Troy's always been one of my faves as well.
So you also pushing, like you mentioned Braga, but Braga is it's already he's how old is he? 30-ish almost?
I don't know if he's even 30. I mean, we could Google it real quick, but
Yeah.
I think he's younger than 30. But I just brought him up because he's the one that is like every freerider. That's the beauty of it. You can ride hardtails, and your
Milo.
sponsor's
Yeah.
stoked on that. You can ride a little bit of slopestyle. You can ride some trail. You can ride this. But I just brought him up because he's like only like he is true to the core and it's working for him, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
He
I'm
came up
blown.
with an own style.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's not even necessarily like coming up with something new. It's just like sticking to his core, and he's like, I'm not wearing that jersey. I'm not like, and I think that's great. I mean, I'm constantly blown away with how many views his stuff gets, and how much traction he gets. But he's putting on his own trips. He's creating his own videos. But the thing that is really eye opening, that you can still make work in this era. with racing being so strong is that like if you find your niche and you don't have to do it all. Because like I remember like Kyle and I would be traveling to Europe with, we got our hardtail for 26 tricks that we're also going to race in four cross at the World Cup, and then we're our downhill. We got to bring it down. So we got to, and we're bringing a slope bike for like Saalbach slope style. Like, so we would be racing and slope style, and then come home and film and ride down. Like, which I really enjoy. I think it's what made me who I am, like being a well-rounded rider. But I think it's cool nowadays that it's gotten so big that you could focus on one thing. Like you could be just a downhill racer, you could be just a big mountain free rider, you could be just a slope style guy. You could, it's gotten big enough to where you can do that. I think it's great.
With your invitational, I mean, do you think there is for people that have been in the industry or a pro rider for many years that they have somewhat of a responsibility to give something back to the grums to support the next gen?
A
I
hundred
mean, I'm
percent.
thinking of Weston, just like insane.
Yeah.
Weston Lucas.
Yeah. It's it's an honor and a privilege, right? I mean, if you find yourself in a position to where you can give back, you should. I mean, any genre of life, right? Like if you're financially stable, you should be trying to donate some money to help then those that are needy, and the same with your time and resources with being a professional mountain biker and having this land that you could invite people to help cultivate their career. And I remember Pastrana, like back when people first started learning backflips on motorcycles, there weren't many foam pits, there weren't many ways that you could ever do it, and Pastrana allowed his greatest competitor at the time, Nate Adams, to come learn backflips on his own foam pit, just because that's the right thing to do. And I've always tried to look at it, and even though I'm not going to be competing with Wes anytime soon, but even when I do, I think it'd be an honor that I've helped him in any way, because he will be one of the greatest to ever do it. And but with my land, and being able to hold an event and bring the youth and give them a spot it's an honor. It's an honor and a privilege. And we even have, so like, if you know Ryan Scheckler, the pro skateboarder, he lives in San Clemente here, and he has his private skate park in town and a warehouse, and he decided to make it uh, a kids camp, like skate park as well. So you can, like, take my son there all the time, and you pay $30 for the hour, and there's a bunch of kids rolling around, and they're getting coached on like the private thing. I'm like, this is kind of like my land, but I don't charge anyone. But it's kind of the same idea that if I have all this, that for me to ride like the greatest training grounds, might as well try to bring as many people as possible and help cultivate their career. And then when there aren't any big mountain freeride events, and there aren't many events where these kids can make a name, because the talent pool is getting so deep now, but there's only one big freeride event, and there's only 18 spots in it. How do you get your name out, right? And how do you, so try to give them platform. And um, I think Wes is, well, before Wes, we had Talus, who won it, and then now he's in Rampage. And then Hayden Zablotny won, and then now he's in Rampage. And Aiden Parrish won my event this year, and he got a spot in Rampage. So that is the coolest proof of concept for the event, that I didn't really originally set out for, but it's like it's so sick to see. And obviously Wes has made massive waves, and the greatest 10-year-old to ever do it, and just keeps getting better. We keep saying like he's so good for 10. It's like, no, he's at the point to where he's just really good for anyone, period, irregardless of age. And then, oh yeah, he's only 10 years old, and he just keeps getting better and better. It's pretty remarkable and inspiring.
Is this something that is quite unique to the mountain bike like scene, that we are having or are in contact with different age groups and generations? It's not like if you're playing soccer or football. It's just like it's one tiny gap of age, maybe at least or maximum 10 years. And we like now can go out there and have grums, maybe 6 to 8 years old, and you're the old guy teaching them, like building just a tiny kicker somewhere and just enjoying a good time out there, and teach them something.
Yeah, I don't think it's completely unique to mountain biking, but a little bit more with action sports, I guess, because the physical stature of an adult versus a kid on a football field is obviously not gonna ever work out. And even in basketball or mainly any team sports, right? Or combat sports or MMA or like, but for action sports, it does lend itself well to where like Kelly Slater winning pipe at 49 or 1 week shy of being 50. But then also there's 17-year-olds on tour, 18-year-olds on tour. And then he could go surf with some Groms that are shredding, so I think
Mhm.
skateboarding as well. There's 9-year-olds doing the mega ramp, but then there's also, the older dudes like Bob Burnquist was doing mega ramp until he was, I think, till he was 30, late 30s as well, and and I think he's still skating it at well over 40, but Tony Hawk's still skating vert at over 50. I think that they're more dangerous sports, but it lends itself a little more freedom to where you can pick and choose your own battles, and you're not directly competing head to head with someone like on a football field. But you could, your destiny isn't necessarily in your hands. Someone else could take you out. But with the action sports, you can pick and choose. All right, today's not the day, or I'm sore, or I'm stiff, or my knees are swollen, and now I'm no these ones have caused me trouble in the past, so I'm only going to focus on these ones. But then still, the experience and the wisdom, especially in big mountain, will help keep you give you that edge, right? To help keep you above the next crowd. And same thing with big mountain snowboarding and skiing, where the slope style is a little bit more of the young man's game. It's a little bit more like gymnastics. And then the big mountain stuff requires a lot more experience, especially with avalanches and what like that. But even for us, there's a lot of things that you pick up and can, you know, capitalize on your wisdom and years of doing it, even if you're not quite as tenacious as you used to be, or quite as strong. And but right now I feel about as strong as I ever have, and people keep saying how old I am, but I feel like besides like my current like nagging wrist injuries, I feel like I don't know, feel like a spring chicken some days, right? And it's awesome. I'm really stoked that I'm still able to do it. I turned 40 in March, so I'm very, 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 very stoked that I'm able to still do it.
So 44 here. So
Okay.
yeah, it's yeah. Some stuff still goes, and others it's harder. But yeah, here you say
Yeah.
nagging wrist, nagging back. You call it. But there's an
Yeah.
elephant in the room. Are you going to pull off Rampage again?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Absolutely. I don't really even feel bad about saying it about my wife, because like my family doesn't really want me to go because it puts them through a lot of stress, and I understand that and I respect that. It's not saying like,
Yeah.
oh, they don't want me to go, that what do they know? I truly respect it, but I just tell them this is my life. I still feel extremely capable. I am not going out like I did last year, and, that wouldn't be my last event to get helicoptered out and never see it again. But also I just feel fully capable. And it's like, if I was my age but hadn't had this career path, I wouldn't be pushing as hard. I need, like yesterday, riding the airbag with Kyle and Dennis Anderson and Eddie Reynolds, and so we got an 18-year-old who's on the bottom of the bell curve of his career, and then Kyle and I are in the latter years of our career, and we have a BMXer coming in. Like, it is so rad to be able to like build off of that and feel the energy, and like going to Woolly Fest and all the kids are just going so hard. Like, if it wasn't my job, I wouldn't be like as motivated, and I probably wouldn't enjoy riding quite as much, because I didn't have as much that little bit extra motivation, because you're like, oh, I don't have to do that jump by any means, and I got to go to work on Monday, and but since it is my job, I'm like, it gives me that little bit extra motivation, to stay healthy, to stay, motivated, and to stay in it, and give that little bit nudge to help keep you. And then as soon as you do, then you get that feeling that you've had, that got you into the sport, and you get to just, I don't know, live everything subsequent to that in that day, everything after that in the day, you're like, "Ah, this is such a good day. It's such an awesome day. I just had the best session." And because you pushed yourself just that little bit extra, right? And I've been fortunate to have like the sponsors to back me and all these other things that push you over the edge a little bit more to do. It's not like doing something you wouldn't want to do originally. It just gives you that little bit extra to do what you wanted to and overcome the fear a little bit better, right?
How would you explain to a total outsider of the sport? Because I mean, Rampage is an event that actually makes it out of our mountain bike bubble into the mainstream media. And like if my neighbor, he's just like in doing regular sports, but the idea of like doing a 360 or even just jumping down a cliff is insane, literally insane to him. So how would you I tried to explain it to them because I said it's not like you are a mountain biker and at some day you decide to toss yourself down a 60-footer, whatever. It's just like you work yourself up there. How you could how could you explain that this is not something out of control?
It's it's like anything that, that if I think it was a Mark Twain quote that the river loses its allure when you understand hydrodynamics. You're like you just look at something in awe if you don't understand it, but then the more you do it, it just becomes normal. And we're like I have to remind myself of how capable I am sometimes because you look at something and it might not make sense, but then as soon as you put your feet on the pedals and do a run, you're like, oh, I feel this. I get lines up in your head and you can see the angles and you can, but even watching someone else ride some jump, sometimes you're like, oh, hell no, that looks like, it looks like, how is that possible? I can't do that. But then as soon as you put your feet on the pedals and you start trusting it and going, then it becomes exponentially easier because you're putting the trust back into everything that you've built and everything that you've worked for. And even just yesterday, I heard another F1 comment of a F2 driver, or they were in one of their first races and they couldn't do one practice, so they went and watched from the sideline, and they literally said that like, this is crazy. I can't do that. But then you like when you watch from outside perspective, but when you're in it, it is just going back to like the goal is autopilot, right? To where you're not thinking at all, and that's the dream, that's the goal, that's the best feeling. To where you just let it happen because you've built up all the skill your whole life, and it's a pretty special place to be. Like any sport, you put in the time, try to keep the injuries to a minimum, and you'll eventually be everything you wanted to be.
You mentioned you visualizing it in your head. How does that look like? I mean, I try to talk more about this, how I visualize things I do on a bike to outsiders, and realize that like not everybody is the same or visualizing in the same way. So if you close your eyes and you imagine, we talked about this in the email before. In 2014, you did this 360 drop at Rampage. And I watched you and I took some photos while you're standing on the edge. What's going on in your head? Like how you think about doing this, how you making it work before you actually making it work.
It's evolved for sure, my own process, and that one in particular. I mean, maybe it was the heat of the moment and just being in such a good mental space, of confidence and everything. But that one didn't seem that crazy at the time. But that is 14 and 15. That was, I think, the biggest three drop ever done. And but at the time, I'm like, I'm capable. This is it. What do I need? I need to figure out my speed. I need to visualize the rotation. I need to make sure the landing's good. If something went wrong, try to avoid this run out, try to avoid that run out. But that one, like a mill went over in there, and then he felt the need to tell me how crazy that was. And the amount of people that have like, oh, let's go check out the old site. And then they'll go check out that drop and they'll be like, I can't believe it. And then I feel the same way now. But it's just a testament to where I was at that point, just so hungry to win and so confident in my abilities that it didn't seem like it was big for sure, but it didn't seem that far-fetched. And now when I look back, I'm like, that one was pretty special. Like
Gnarly.
that was super heavy, and I did it over the course of those 2 years 4 times, I think, right? And it was perfect each time. But the visualizing is it's I heard in Cirque du Soleil, the circuses and stuff, they visualize, and when they have a glitch in it, so say you close your eyes, you try to run through a trick, and then there's a spot where there's a block, like that is the moment or body positioning that you need to work on. So picking up things like that along the years of, I would used to just keep doing it until I could visualize it, and then I'm like, okay, I got it now. I can do it. I got it. I can visualize it. And then after hearing that, I'm like, oh, okay. So I was just working through that moment, but now that I know that, I'm like, okay, when I come to that block, I realize that this is the part to where I might not be in the right body positioning. And the mind's an incredible thing. I heard on a Rogan podcast that they even there's stats on even visualizing weightlifting, how there is a noticeable documented percentage gain in being able to visualize doing 12 reps and then actually doing it far better than if you didn't visualize it. And that's just lifting weights, right? So just seeing yourself doing it, believing that you can do it. And dude, Sam Hill apparently could visualize a race run and start the clock at the top in his head and then be within a second or two. Like that is just a master mind.
Hmm.
Like that is like the greatest race mind. Like if I did that on a race run, I wouldn't even, it'd be so far off. But I'm not a racer anymore, and that's what
Yeah.
I haven't raced World Cups in 18 years now, 19 years now, but um, it's visualization is key though. It's everything. And if you can, I've found it might take 1,000 times in my head. It might take 10, but as soon as I have it in my head and I saw it, I'm like, I can trust that I am capable and it's going to be all right. Or at least you're going to at least get to a safe zone to where then it's another crash, or hopefully, but you're not going to like visualize a backflip and then just all of a sudden make it halfway. Like that you can at least get to a safe zone and things are going to be
Mhm.
you're going to be all right.
Do you think like slope with all the slope style elements and maybe also Rampage got more slope style elements that it's moving towards something that you could call gymnastics, like Olympic style, visualizing, doing it on the bars, on the rings,
No,
trampoline?
it's inevitably going to a little bit. I think the biggest thing is it's everything's going to progress, and you can kind of steer the ship, but you can't have a picture of what this is going to be in 10 years and it's just going to fit the mold. It When they added water, that was the greatest advent to the event, to where they pump it from a back spring all the way up to the top of the mountain to some 500-gallon tanks, and then we have hoses running down that we can tap into, and you bring your own 150 200 foot length of hose and you could tap in somewhere along the ridge and go water something. Has made it far safer, like to where we can actually build berms and bigger bench cuts and catches at the bottom of a chute, to where would have taken an eternity to do it before. You wouldn't have
Mhm.
the amount of time that you needed in the dig days. So all these things are great advents to the event, but then also that lends itself to creating like much greater, because the dirt out there is amazing. You just need to add water. So like to add a perfect jump on a ridge that you could find in just a dirt jump park, or obviously built for big bikes, and uh, then what are you going to do? Of course, you're going to try to do the biggest, best tricks you can on it. But fortunately, there's been some checks and balances of like Antoine doing a double flip one year, and they scored it like crazy, even though he had a pretty mediocre run up until that point, but did a double flip at the bottom. And then people realized this isn't the direction we want to go. So then the next year when he did kind of the same thing and even better run up top, he got scored severely lower. So it is a contest. you can do what you want. You can live out your own hopes and dreams, irregardless of whatever the judges want. But if you're there to compete, you gotta try to appease the judges, and luckily the judges have been, um, it's there's by nature it's subjective, and there's always some discrepancies, but it's definitely getting the biggest things are usually getting rewarded. But then we got like Tom last year, who did the greatest thing you could have possibly done, the mountain greatest thing of the day. I think the gnarliest thing done in any Rampage, the 75-foot front flip step down, um, and then getting fourth. I think that was an atrocity, but um, it's my opinion, right? And it's subjective, and I don't I think it's still in a good spot though. It's in a great spot to where I just hope they judge the shoots more than a trick on a jump.
You said your family is maybe not in the biggest fan of you re-entering another time
Yeah,
for Rampage because of all the stress. So I mean, you have two kids, so there is a lot of time management involved. You want to spend time with the kids, you run companies, you're a pro bike rider. So how's that? Like how you pull that one off?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I just try to I take it I try to take advantage of every bit I can get on the bike, and if I'm even just swimming with my kid last night, I got a kettlebell and I'll walk it to the deep end and do like the Navy SEAL jumps to where you're jumping from the bottom and then breathing, and then do any opportunity you get to like give yourself a little bit of a workout or a little bit of a like even surfing. I'll try to put myself in the start gate Rampage and just say like, okay, this is, picture yourself there, do your little breathing technique, and try to focus and try to get into a flow state. Even though it's on a wave, it's still a sport to where you're, using your coordination and trying to make it happen on this moment. All throughout the day, it's never not on my mind. And I think there's some other opportunities to where you don't necessarily need to be on the bike to be staying fresh and staying sharp. But then when I am on the bike, this is this is toward a big goal, and I'm there to enjoy myself, and I will still just enjoy riding my bike, but it's always working toward the end goal of being better and peaking at the right time. And so it's, yeah, you just find the opportunities when you can get them, I guess.
Are your kids inspired by what you do?
I think they are, and I don't think they would necessarily like tell me or say it that much, but I get the inclinations and the things of the something they might have said to one of their friends or one, things like that. And I think that they are, and that's another motivation too, to practice what you preach and try to show them, don't let fear bar you from your dreams, and don't let what other people say keep you from doing what you want to do and what is right, what makes you full. And I just try to remind them that it's always scary to be in the passenger seat if someone else is driving, because you're not in control. And like, I'm in control and I feel good about this. And although it's inherently extremely dangerous, but I feel far better about it than you do because you're not in control. So just try to remind them of that, and try to lead a good example, show them this is, we live an incredible life, and it's not because I, walked away from the cliff. Is because I, like found the best way to jump off of it in the safest way, and at the right time. I'm not spinning 40-foot cliffs every day, but out there it's built right. We try to build it as safe as we can. The world's watching, and there's a lot on the line, and it's like catching lightning in a bottle out there. It's awesome.
There's nothing I can add. I mean, that's a perfect wrap up. Thank you
Awesome.
for thank you for taking the time. I mean, it's pretty awesome. You're doing this for all these years, over decades, and then still doing strong as a pro, and wish you all the best for rejoining Rampage.
Thank you very
And
much. Yeah, I greatly appreciate it. And yeah, I greatly appreciate the time. And in fact, you want me on the podcast, right? Like, it means I'm doing my job, and it also helps promote the brands, and it's great. Yeah, I'm really stoked to be on a production sample for the downhill bike out there and add another layer of fun of, like I another thing I was telling my wife, like, it's not just about riding. Like, I get to go sit down with Troy Lee and design my new helmet, and I get to get my custom kit. And then now I'm like working on my own paint job and my own wrap for my own frames to go. Like, it's really cool. It's like being a kid again, and like almost getting to design your own Christmas. You get to. It's yeah, really really fortunate and really looking forward to it. So yeah, and I appreciate wanting me to be on the podcast.
You enjoyed this episode and want to know more about the insights and maybe different perspectives on riders and brands? Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Until next time.